buying time, killing people next in line. Lower classes, social slime, they don't matter. Genocide, sick from water, sick from air. Making money, they don't care. Caesar shit, force of air. Fuck them back, it's only for they bomb. They shoot, they kill, they massacre, rape. They burn the kids, no one leaves countries. Lie to your face, fight and die, 'cause God forgives. Selling lies and buying time, killing people next in line. Lower classes, social side, they don't matter. Genocide, sick from water, sick from air. Making money, they don't care. See their shit, force a bear. Fuck them back, it's only fair. They bomb, they shoot, they kill, they massacre, rape. They burn the kids, no one leaves countries. Lie to your face, fight and die, 'cause God forgives. Yeah. Coming back around again.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Game On here on UCY.tv. My name is Alex Lambert. I will be your guest host for the day. Those who speak French will pronounce it Lambert, as Ron kept doing on his show last night, but I do pronounce it the anglicized way. You can pronounce it either way. It really makes no difference to me. Anyway, I am honored that Ron has asked me to host the show today. He had a very important birthday to attend, which he could not miss. So rather than cancel the show or air in a rerun, he asked me if I'd take over Sunday slot, and here we are. So this is my first time hosting a radio show. I'll ask that everyone bear with me. Hopefully everything goes smoothly. I've been calling into the show quite regularly. Ron and I really hit it off. Been discussing this newspaper idea. And so I've been entrusted with doing this show today. Woke up pretty early today, got in some exercise, watching the Communist Broadcasting Corporation discussing the refugee settlements here in Canada. And as usual, it's just another goddamn echo chamber. Nothing of substance or relevance discussed, obviously. They're just basically reporting on how people are apparently angry that the process is taking so long and how the political parties can benefit. It was funny. It was funny. You could just tell how carefully they were choosing their words. They're trying so hard to make sure they didn't say anything could be interpreted the wrong way as criticism. But, you know, what do you expect from CBC? I'm looking out the window right now. It's a gorgeous day here in Brampton. I'm a little bit tired. Asshole neighbors kept me up arguing. Kids screaming till 4 in the morning. But I'll survive. So I'm not quite the bank of knowledge that Ron is. We'll probably be going over quite a few more topics than he would normally discuss, but I'll do my best. So I really like Ron's show. I've been listening religiously since I stumbled on it not too long ago. I've learned a lot, and I also really like UCY. My favorite show other than Game On would have to be Cutting Through the Matrix, Alan Watts show. I really like what Alan does. Learned a lot from listening to him too. And in any case, I should say a bit about myself. I studied at Humber College in Toronto, Canada. I did 4 years for media and print and broadcast journalism. I think I got a diploma kicking around the closet somewhere. But anyway, I graduated a few years ago. Could not bring myself to be employed in that industry. I learned firsthand what it's all about. So I did some freelancing. I did a website for a while. I made almost no money. That didn't last long. I gotta eat, right? So I was working in warehouses for a while, mostly through agencies, trying to get hired on somewhere, get some sort of security. Was tough. Kept getting laid off under quite a bit of stress. I didn't really write or read much for a while. Last couple of years have been better, though. I'm working full time, doing search engine optimization. Finally got some semblance of security. Kind of got my shit together, I guess you could say. So I'm back reading, researching, and writing. I'm motivated. Ron and I have been yammering on nonstop about starting this newspaper in Ontario. Here I am hosting the show, so I'm back. I thought I'd start getting into some of my experiences studying journalism, day school, quote unquote, which, by the way, is a total ripoff. I could have basically taught everything to myself on the internet. But, I got access to equipment, people who worked in the industry. It gave me some insight, yada, yada, yada. Wasn't a total waste of time, but I would not recommend it. Go teach yourselves, kids. So, day school. Well, I wanted to get into it originally. I've always been really had my strength in English, reading and writing, comprehension, communication. So that was obvious. I liked the idea of what I thought journalism was. Obviously, I was very, very idealistic at the time. Stuck into this establishment crap. But, that started to go out the window. The more I learned, more experience with the media world was really like. So, what did I want to talk about here? Yeah. Start with the entrance exam. Well, the entrance exam should have sort of been a red flag from the get-go. They didn't really ask about anything in terms of, ethics, integrity, critical thinking, the important stuff that really matters. They were just sort of asking about, what's the capital of what province? Who's the prime minister? Who are the premiers? What wars are we involved in right now? That sort of bullshit. That should have raised a red flag right off the bat. And all they care about is that you can regurgitate the news. But I was, as I said, very idealistic at the time. Completely different person. I didn't really understand what it was, obviously. But I did have some experiences later on for the years, my education. Just kind of, giving me an understanding of what the hell journalism really is. One I remember very, very vividly. I was tasked to write an article for the official OCAA magazine, Ontario, what is that, College Athletics Association, I think, the sports magazine for the colleges. And I was writing about concussions. There was a girl who had suffered a number of concussions, severe ones. She was out for a long time. I think it was 2 years, basically permanent headaches. And I was digging into, based on what she had told me, why was the OCAA allowing her to play? Because they had known, supposedly, that she had a concussion already, and I think within a week or 2 weeks she was cleared to play again. I obviously questioned that. Why was that allowed? But what ended up happening was, once the president or the head of the OCAA, or can't remember what the hell his title was, but once he found out what the angle was, because I think this girl, the soccer player, had come to him and was kind of concerned that maybe I wasn't representing the OCAA in the best light, and that I was using her to just to get a story, and whereas I was genuinely concerned, right? Like I did an interview with this girl, and she broke down in tears in front of me, talking about the amount of pain she had to go through. She, where is this here? Right here. Okay. Just want to read a passage out of this. Not sure why this isn't working. Hold on a sec here. Yeah, I'm just going to have to shut my browser down here for a minute. Okay. I don't know what happened there. Anyway, so basically what ended up happening is, the professor who was acting as the editor on the OCAA publication came to me and basically explained, you can't frame your article this way. You are, you're basically, I'm just gonna have to shut my. You're basically making the OCAA look bad. They don't want that in their magazine, and that was basically it. It was change it, or we're not going to run this thing. And so here we go. This is it here. She came to me, this soccer player who had multiple concussions, and she confronted me. I remember this. She got in my face about it, that I was making her look bad, making OCAA look bad, and I'm sitting here thinking like, whoa, I'm just trying to do what I thought was my job as a journalist. Clearly, I didn't understand what that was. But anyway, let me just read a little bit of this. The sound of a phone ringing, or the sight of a single beam of light through the curtains, was enough sensory overload to make Jamie Baggs vomit. Her swollen head felt like it was filled with dozens of daggers trying to poke through her skull. She was so off balance, she needed help just to use the stairs. She had no choice but to lie in bed for weeks, feeling isolated, exhausted, and depressed. She was lucky to get a few hours of sleep per night. Let's get to a quote from her. Think of the worst migraine you've ever had times 10. It was just a stabbing in every direction in my head, she says. On top of this, the depression she experienced was debilitating. I just knew there was something not right with me. I wasn't happy. The things I liked, I didn't like. Nothing could make me smile. I didn't want to do anything. I didn't want to see my friends. I didn't want to go to family functions because I just didn't really even know how to be in those situations because I just felt like a different person. I felt like someone had actually just taken over me. Sensory deprivation is standard treatment for concussion symptoms. So for the better part of a month, Baggs did nothing but lie in bed in her silent, pitch-black room wearing sunglasses and earplugs. I wanted to die, she says, recalling how she felt during this bout of isolation. The suffering Baggs endured during this ordeal is the end result of her hiding the fact she was concussed from athletic staff at Humber College. Baggs made up a number of excuses, such as saying she had the flu, so she could continue playing. She secretly went to the hospital after heading a near frozen ball during an extra cold practice, which resulted in the first concussion. At the hospital, they told her she was definitely concussed and she shouldn't get back on the field until she had completed a return-to-play program, meaning she would have to be symptom-free. That wasn't an option for me, Baggs says. We had our provincial semifinal in 6 days, so I came to school on the Monday and said to my coaches, I said, look, I have the flu. I won't be practicing all week. I'll see you guys Thursday at the game. So, yeah, she sort of muddied the waters a little bit on that. It got to the point it really wasn't clear to me whether, if she had even told them. But at some point, I think they understood because she had received multiple concussions and then again was allowed to play. So, like I said, I basically wasn't allowed to print any of that, wasn't really allowed to look into it. And the article essentially, short of talking to Charles Tater, which is a neuroscientist, and he criticized some of the protocols in place today, it was pretty much just, look away, nothing to see here. The OCAA is doing their job, and don't worry about it. Right, so let me move on here. But I had a few heated discussions with the professor who was editing that publication, and I almost killed the story. I guess academically, I made the right decision. But it just felt so crappy having to publish that story. It was really not what I wanted it to be. There were a number of incidences like that dealing with different editors and editorial stance, and we can't say this because you might offend this person, and I quickly really started to understand that you can't say anything. You can only say what fits into the current paradigm, basically. And if you go outside that, you won't work in that industry. Not as anything but a freelancer. Not if you're not independent. So that was eye-opening for me. By the time that happened, I was in, fifth semester or something like that. I'd already done 3.5 years. So, I just kind of bit the bullet at that point and got the diploma. But if I could have known what I know now going into it, I would never have signed up for that shit. I did, however, I had one professor that she asked me to come speak with the Media Foundation students. I have her on Facebook. She sees my posts. She knows what I talk about, what I know. And I never heard from her again. She probably thought twice. She might get in trouble or something. I might scare her students. So I really haven't heard from anyone there since. I'm in touch with a couple of people who graduated with me, and that's about it. That's a little bit about my experiences. I wanted to get more into sort of talking about media analysis and media literacy in general. So I'm sorry for the people in the chat, I'd like to say. I've been having problems with my browser here, and I can't really keep up. Like I said, this is my first time, so bear with me, people in the chat. Thank you for your interest. Okay, where was I here? Media literacy, right. So, gatekeeping, self-censorship, instilling fear into new students, right? This is really important. First thing I'll talk about, I'll get into gatekeeping a little bit. So what gatekeeping refers to is control of information, control of access to sources. It's basically PR and media relations. There are other forms of it, more subtle forms, but that's basically it. I had a lot of experience with this when I was in college. I tended to go after some of the more difficult stories. There were a lot of days where I was on daily deadlines where I just didn't produce anything because I could not get a source on the phone. And this is because, as Ron's discussed with me in the past, recently, but as Ron's discussed with me, this is really proliferating now. The level of gatekeeping, the level of control of access to sources and access to information is just obscene. It's really bad right now. And it's basically because every last bureaucracy, every last government agency, every last possible thing you can think of now has got a PR/media relations person, whatever you want to call them, gatekeeper there as a filter, right? Protect the sources from speaking to the wrong people. Protect the wrong people from speaking to the sources. Keep the information from them. And yeah, like I said, it was damn near impossible a lot of days to get anyone on the phone. You know, and I would, a lot of the time it was the most innocuous thing that I would be asking them about, you know, so it's something it's never going to cause any controversy. It's just innocent. And it was impossible getting anyone on the phone a lot of the time. That is a really insidious and effective way of keeping information from journalists and controlling information. I had another thing here I wanted to point out. This is a website called Newswire. PR Newswire for journalists, right? So Newswire is a site where all these PR firms and whomever, media relations people, put out press releases. You can go troll it every day for the latest press releases. I got onto this page the other day. It says, for journalists. Now, this is a classic example right here of gatekeeping, right? What does it say? The easiest place for journalists to find news and contacts. Access the news from every industry and subject you cover. Easy search options let you find experts, company contacts. Experts, yeah. So sick of that word. Who defines that shit? Right? Anyway, company contacts or archive releases. And with custom email delivery, you decide the kind of news you want, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. Right? So, down here, it says, bloggers and freelancers. Right? You got to scroll all the way down so you can't even see the word journalists anymore. They're trying to separate that out and say, you know, first of all, if you're not working for a major media organization, you're not a real journalist because you're not accredited. Freelancers don't count. That's what they're saying here. Oh, God, so patronizing. Listen to this. Don't let the name PR Newswire for journalists dissuade you. Any content creator, whether you're a journalist, freelancer, or blogger, notice they separate them, Can set up a customized profile to receive news based on your preferences. You can also find thousands of photos, connect with brands for upcoming blog posts and articles. So they're trying to separate out anyone who isn't with the establishment. Right? If you're not hired by a major media organization, you're not a real journalist. Even if you're freelancing, even if you have decades of experience, nope, you're not a real journalist. This is gatekeeping at its finest, because what it says up here is it gives you options to find experts, company contacts. There's nothing about that down here, where it says bloggers and freelancers. So if you're not working for CBC, CTV, one of these major media organizations, you're not getting access. So good luck getting your story. Right? This is one of the best ways of controlling information. I wanted to point this out to people. Love how they're rebranding the word journalist. You're only a journalist if you're employed in the industry. So anyway, another thing that is really important in understanding the way news is covered and how journalists are kept under control is self-censorship, right? Instilling fear into the new students. They do this right away. And I remember thinking, what the hell is going on here? When I got in there. They start first semester, probably the hardest course of the entire program, which is media law. If you know anything about media law in Canada, it's extremely complex. It sucks because there's so much chill because how easy it is, really, to be sued for defamation, libel. It's just a chilling effect to begin with. But anyway, it's one of the first courses you take, first semester. It is very, very important stuff to know, especially if you're like if you're a full-time mainstream journalist, you've got to know this stuff. You work for a large corporation with, when there's a real threat of getting sued. For instance, not putting the word alleged right before talking about allegations against someone. If you don't do that, you can be sued pretty easily in this country. So they're basically teaching you to self-censor. Although that is important, we don't want trial by media. We don't want to qualify accusations against people. The word alleged is important, but what I'm saying here is it's a chill effect that they have on journalists, where, they're basically saying, like, if you don't stay within the current paradigm, you're going to piss off your editors, you're going to piss off your publishers, your advertisers, so you better not say anything controversial. It keeps journalists scared shitless, self-censoring, watering down their own stories out of fear. It keeps you on a leash. Certainly, if you go into mainstream media, you are on a leash. A prostitute and a repeater, not a reporter, as Lionel would say. Basically keeps you regurgitating press releases, terrified to print anything, and essentially assigning burden of truth to whether something is written on a government document or not. It's very, very limiting. And this is done by design. They want to keep you terrified so they can keep you in line, and they can manipulate you. What this ends up doing, right, and is the intention, you're narrowing the scope of debate, you're narrowing the scope of discussion, you're narrowing the scope of thought. Right? So when I was writing for one of the online publications at Humber College, most students would go in, pick the easiest, most innocuous, most softball press release or story they could find, and they'd whip it off in a few hours. Because it's simple, nothing complex about it, not difficult to get sources on the phone. Most of it was like basically promoting products and events and, it's easy fluffy shit, right? I actually tried to dig into issues, get into some more complex stories, and it was really, really difficult, as I said, because of all these factors. It's sad the other students wanted to do that, but you can't blame them. You really can't blame them. So where am I here? Keep closing this chat here. Fluffy shit, right? Okay, sorry about that. Jeez. Okay, here we go. So, here we go. I'm in the chat again now. Duck me. Thank you very much for the compliments. Anyone and everyone. Okay. Now, I wrote something the other night. I wanted to get into this. This is what I want to be the first entry to a series we want to do. Ron and I want to do with this newspaper regarding critical thinking, media literacy, all this sort of thing. This is really just dealing with media ownership. So let's get into it. This is media ownership in Canada. Okay. Public education today is meant to pump out, as George Carlin once put it, obedient workers. Rather than focusing on critical thinking, analysis, problem solving, debate and discussion, students are taught to value allegiance to the state, observance of authority, and ability to regurgitate and implicitly trust official information. They are also fed piles of UN bullshit on such topics as climate change, economics, and politics, while they're taught not to question any of it. It's an insidious system intended to demoralize and dumb people down, crush individuality, destroy the family, domesticate and make us subservient and docile. Soviet-style education at its finest. Listen, obey, do not question. Any student who likes to ask a lot of questions will quickly find out that this is not tolerated. Anything but implicit obedience will be labeled disruptive. And we've been so well programmed that most of us have no idea that education was ever anything different from what it is today. And here I'm getting into introducing the series here. So the series is meant to break people's programming, explain to them what the education system today actually is, teach them how to critically think, analyze, research, self-teach, question everything, and become media literate. For anyone who doesn't already know this, media ownership in Canada rests in the hands of a few corporations. According to Newspapers Canada, there's a total of 16 corporations that own every daily newspaper in the country. And of those 102 papers, 3 companies own 65 of them. Only 6 of them are independent. Independent, right? Quote unquote, so they say. Post Media alone owns 45 daily newspapers, including the National Post, Toronto Sun, and 24 Hours Toronto, Vancouver. All major publications, some of the biggest publications in the country. When it comes to nearly 1,100 community newspapers in this country, well more than half of them, I believe the number was 599, are owned by one of 10 corporations. As for news broadcasting in Canada, the level of consolidation is even worse. At least in Ontario, It's pretty safe to say that most people are getting their domestic broadcast news from CP24, CTV, or CBC. Other major networks providing broadcast news would include Omni, City, and Global. CP24 and CTV are owned by Bell Media. Rogers owns Omni and City. Shaw owns Global. And I believe Chorus just bought Shaw the other day. I think there's a press release. Not somewhere here. Let me dig that up. Chorus Entertainment completes acquisition of Shaw Media. Announced today that it has completed its previously announced $2.65 billion acquisition of Shaw Media. Shaw Media's assets consist of 19 specialty channels, including Food Network Canada, HGTV Canada, Slice, Lifetime Canada, History, Showcase, National Geographic Canada, and BBC Canada, as well as Global's conventional stations in Vancouver, Okanagan, Edmonton, Calgary, Lethbridge, Saskatoon, Regina, Winnipeg, Toronto, Montreal, Halifax, and St. John. Whew! That is a mouthful. This acquisition more than doubles Chorus's size. Oh, okay, so I guess Chorus is the new player on the block now. So much for Shaw. Creating a combined portfolio of brands that encompass 45 specialty television services, including leading women and lifestyle, kids, family, and general entertainment brands, 15 conventional television channels, 39 radio stations, a global content business, and a growing portfolio of digital assets. So, that's interesting. Let's get back to this. Okay. Where am I here? Oh, Microsoft Word. Sorry about that. Okay. CPAC provides what they pretend is unbiased coverage, but given the fact that 85% ownership lies in the hands of Shaw, now Chorus, Quebecor, and Rogers, they obviously support the status quo, and they demonstrate this with conviction. So those are all owned by, all the broadcast news stations are owned by three corporations, the major ones in Canada. CBC is our government mouthpiece. And so, you know, any Canadian listening right now who pays attention has probably noticed that news coverage is pretty much uniform across the board. It's all establishment narrative. Exact numbers on ownership of broadcast media in Canada are somewhat difficult to nail down, but this should give you an idea just how controlled the broadcast media really is. Even the Canadian press, which used to pride itself on being a non-profit cooperative, was purchased and turned into a for-profit business back in 2010 by Torstar, the Globe and Mail, and Jessica, a subsidiary of, get this, Power Corporation, that also owns La Presse in Montreal, I believe. So, you know, this doesn't really provide you anything on how to analyze media. I will get into that in the future a lot more. But it's vitally important for everyone to know what is bankrolling the information we digest. Right? If we don't understand the influence behind what we're watching, reading, or listening to, we can't possibly even begin to understand how to critically digest this stuff and really get what the vast majority of it is: propaganda. It's what it is, folks. So next time you think you're getting fair, objective, unbiased news, remember, there is corporate cash and massive influence behind nearly every publication in this country. And the last thing they want is for you to be informed. That doesn't help them, right? Like I said above. George Carlin said, what do they want? Obedient workers. People are just smart enough to run the machines. What did he say? He was just dumb enough to not understand how badly they're getting fucked by the system that they're supporting. So that's critical thinking number one. A couple more things I wanted to get in here. Here we go. So this will give you a little bit of an example of the restrictions, the limiting restrictions put on reporters to prevent them from really discussing anything of substance or of relevance. Okay, here we go. What do we have? The Canadian Press, our standards. Among the most important of these practices, investigate fully before transmitting any story or identifying any individual in a story when there is the slightest reason for doubt. When in doubt, cut it out. Well, it's definitely good to thoroughly research, fully investigate something before you start printing people's names, of course. But there's always going to be a doubt. There's always a doubt in everything. So, all that is chilling the journalists. It's making them scared to talk about anything of substance because, they might be in doubt. Number 2, cite competent authorities and sources as the origin of any information open to question. Have proof available for publication in the event of a denial. Right, so who defines competent authority? Who defines that? Not the journalist. Not the public. The establishment. The corporations hiring these people. They get to define that. So that keeps them only talking to the establishment. Don't pay attention to that guy. He's crazy. You got to only speak to the establishment. Number 3, be impartial when handling any news affecting parties or matters in controversy. Give fair representation to all sides at issue. Okay, so be impartial. Well, what that means is keep your fucking mouth shut and don't say anything about it. Just give us the dry facts from the press release, and you're not allowed to say anything or even question anything of relevance here. Give fair representation to all sides at issue. That is very important. However, a lot of the time, there are sides that just don't deserve a say. When they're lying through their teeth to you, and you know it, and that's all you're going to get out of them, then what's the point? What's the point? I've been researching something on fluoride. I've been writing something for a local website in Brampton because Region Appeal is going to be having a vote on whether to fluoridate the water or not. And I was thinking of calling the mayor and the mayor of Mississauga and the mayor of Caledon. I'm thinking, why bother to give these hacks a say? All they're going to do, if they even bother to speak with me, is read off the endorsements they already released 6 months before the vote. So sometimes there's no point. You're wasting your time giving people a say. And, giving everyone a say. What that means is you can't put out a story without injecting the establishment bullshit in there. The establishment bullshit and lies isn't in there, your story's not going to press. 4, stick to the facts without editorial opinion or comment. Once again, like I said, don't say anything. Don't talk about issues. You might offend someone. You might get called a racist. You might get called a bigot. And we all know these reporters are nothing but scumbag cowards. Reporters' opinions are not wanted in the Canadian Press copy. their observations are. So are accurate backgrounding and authoritative interpretation essential to the reader's understanding of complicated issues. I'm not even going to get into that. I think you all understand what that means. Admit errors promptly. Frankly, public distrust of the media is fed by inaccuracy, carelessness, indifference to public sentiment, automatic cynicism about those in public life, perceived bias or unfairness, and other sins suggesting arrogance. Yeah, you guys are doing all that stuff. So, no wonder you're losing your entire readership. You're all getting laid off all the time. Talking about, boo-hoo, journalists are getting laid off because everything's getting bought up by corporations. Yeah, my ass. My ass. You guys are losing your readership because you're a bunch of hack scumbags. And people are starting to wake up to it. But anyway, number 6. We can help overcome such public attitudes through scrupulous care for facts and unwavering dedication to fairness. We must not be quick to dismiss criticism and complaints, a trait journalists refuse to accept in others. I don't think that's true. I think journalists pretty much swallow whatever the hell people tell them today. Repeaters, right? Not reporters. The power of news stories, number 7. The power of news stories to injure can reach both the ordinary citizen and the corporate giant. Our integrity and sensitivity demand that we respond sympathetically and quickly when an error has been made. Well, you guys got a backlog like you wouldn't believe. Errors that have been made, you're gonna have to apologize for every paper you've ever released. It's full of bullshit. It doesn't matter whether the complaint comes from a timid citizen acting alone or from a powerful figure's battery of lawyers. Yeah, right. Yeah, I'm going to buy that. This coming from the corporate giant that owns Canadian press. Right, okay. 8. Every story shown to be erroneous and involving a corrective must be drawn to the attention of supervisory staff. There's nothing wrong with that. Makes sense. What does this say here? The Canadian press, our ethics. Part of our responsibility as a news agency is to ensure we don't do anything that demeans the craft or weakens our credibility. You guys are failing miserably. We must observe stringent ethical practices and be seen to be doing so. The following guiding principles for our staff were established in the spirit of wanting to advance, not restrain our work. Yeah, right. All it's doing is restraining your work. Number 1, pride in yourself and in the practice of journalism nourishes ethical behavior. So having an ego, having a big ego, and being idealistic about journalism and not understanding what the hell it is, nourishes ethical behavior. That's doublespeak if I've ever heard it before. Number 2, our policy is to pay its way. What the hell does that even mean? Staff should not accept anything that might compromise... Oh, okay, yeah. Pay its way. Our policy is to pay its way. Staff should not accept anything that might compromise our integrity or credibility. We do not pay newsmakers for interviews, to take their pictures, or to film or record them. Number 3. That's important. You shouldn't be doing that. Number 4. Our reporters do not misrepresent themselves to get a story. They always identify themselves as journalists. I don't like that one either. That's it's just another limiting tactic, right? The second you tell someone you're a journalist, they're going to censor themselves. They're going to change their attitude about you. They're going to change the way they talk to you, and you're not going to get the same sort of interview. To me, anyone's a journalist. Anyone can call up whatever person and talk to them, record it, and write an article about it. What we were taught at Humber College is proper journalistic ethics. And I agree with this a hell of a lot more than what the Canadian press is saying. They taught us that if a person asks you, they ask you, are you a journalist? If they ask you, are you recording this? It's proper ethics to say, to admit it. Yes, I am a journalist. Yes, I am filming this. But if nobody asks, you don't have any obligation, period. And I don't think any of this is in law. I don't remember them teaching us anything about that. People go incognito all the time. You can't get stories when you going and telling people you're a journalist. You can't get a story all the time. No one will talk to you. So that's bullshit. That's just to keep them on a leash. Okay. The Canadian press. Our impartiality. Impartiality is somewhat like exercise. You have to work out regularly to build tone and strength. In our reports, parties in controversy, whether in politics or law or otherwise, receive fair consideration. Isn't that interesting that they single out politics and law? Isn't that interesting? Though not surprising. Statements issued by conflicting interests merit equal prominence, whether combined in a single story or used at separate times. No, they don't. They don't always merit equal prominence. Right? People who are fucking traitors, fascist pieces of shit that are lying to your face do not merit equal prominence and fair consideration. I'm sick of this objectivity garbage. This is what keeps journalists whipped and on a leash and not talking about anything important. Now here's an example. Right now, I will admit, I have not done background on this. I haven't looked into it myself. But I did want to get into speaking somewhat about Black Lives Matter today. I won't comment on this really. I'm just using this article as an example here of objectivity in journalism and following ethics and impartiality and standards in journalism. Here's a perfect example of how this does nothing but leash reporters. Right, now, I'm sure plenty of you have heard the stories that have come out that George Soros, Michael Bloomberg, I believe, a whole whack of people allegedly, there's that word again, allegedly donated millions, tens of millions of dollars, not hundreds of millions of dollars, to Black Lives Matter. Now, here's an article from the Daily Beast. I'm pretty sure, I've only really ever heard of this website. I'm pretty sure the Daily Beast is a left-wing rag. Let's get into this. Headline, no, George Soros didn't give $33 million to hashtag Black Lives Matter. A director for the liberal billionaires Open Society Foundations quashes the rumor, pushed by conspiracy theorists and even mainstream outlets, that Soros is bankrolling the movement. Well, I believe it was the Washington Post that first reported it. Could be wrong. It might have been the Guardian. I actually can't remember right now. But anyway, so here it is. All George Soros has to do for his cover story is send his media relations people out, right? The director for George Soros' Open Society Foundations, all he has to say is, no, we didn't fund them. That's a conspiracy theory. And the reporters jump on it, they got their story for the day, done. They don't question it, and they move on with their lives. Let's see what this says here. In the wake of Black Lives Matter protests that interrupted speeches by Bernie Sanders and Jeb Bush over the last month, voices on social media, right-wing blogs, this is definitely a left-wing rag. And let me get this straight right now. I don't subscribe to any of that bullshit. Everything is controlled by the top. All sides controlled by the same system. So I'm not left-wing, I'm not right-wing, I'm not centrist, I'm not any of this. I don't label myself any of that. If anything, I'm a pragmatist. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Even general interest sites have pointed to a conspiracy involving liberal billionaire George Soros and a very specific amount of money, $33 million. The Soros-funded Black Lives Matter movement is a big problem for the Democrats. The American thinkers Thomas Lifton wrote this week. Some of those rumors have gone mainstream, even making an appearance at Fox News' ratings powerhouse, The O'Reilly Factor, in late July. So who's funding Black Lives Matter? One of the big donors seems to be George Soros, our old pal, who gives big money to affiliates of Black Lives Matter, groups that do direct business with him, host Bill O'Reilly said on July 28th. Also giving money directly to the group are entertainers Jay-Z and Beyonce. O'Reilly's guest was Kelly Riddell, who wrote an investigative report for the Washington Times this year about Soros' charity ties to left-wing organizations. All right, so here we go. This person supposedly, now, again, I haven't looked into this and confirmed anything. Still backs up my point, though. This person wrote an investigative report. God knows how long they spent researching this. What they had to do to get the sources. And all Soros has to do is send his media goon, his media relations person out there to tell them, you're wrong. No, you're wrong. We didn't do it. All cleared up. Right? It doesn't matter if there's proof of it or not. These people speak, and the journalists jump. Eat it up. Black Lives Matter is a group that was started by 3 women that work at Soros-backed organizations that are into community organizing, into kind of riling up activists, she said. They are all of these organizations, from a certain standpoint, are funded by George Soros' Open Society foundations. We're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. I found that within 1 year, George Soros dedicated $33 million to these types of organizations. So it's $33 million from Soros to agitators who are organized to disrupt, O'Reilly said. And then the National Convention for the Republicans in Cleveland seemed to be a target. But a director at Soros' Open Society Foundations says the billionaire did not give money to Patrisse Cullors, Alicia Garza, and Opal Tometi, the 3 activists who rallied together on Twitter in response to the death of unarmed black teen Trayvon Martin and the acquittal of his killer. I can't really speculate on what leads to rumors, but it is wrong, said Ken Zimmerman, the director of U.S. programs at Open Society Foundations. I don't even know where one begins to reconstruct something like that. Thank you, gatekeeper. The 3 women came up with the Black Lives Matter hashtag to bring attention to the deaths of young black Americans, and the phrase gained prominence with the police killings of Tamir Rice, Michael Brown, Eric Garner, and Freddie Gray. Now, as the Daily Beast reported last week, Black Lives Matter is an umbrella term for a decentralized network of everything from blogs to in-person meetups, like movie nights or lectures, to protests to Facebook pages, making the task of pinpointing the number to $33 million impossible. Oh, I see what they're doing here. So that, yeah. We're dealing with semantics here. Well, Black Lives Matter is fractured. It's not all one organization. So you can't pinpoint it, and therefore this is a conspiracy theory. Oh, this makes me think of Kofi Annan was giving a speech somewhere, and what's his face from We Are Change, Rudkowski, asked him, how can we trust the UN? You're talking about a new world order. Well, how can we trust the UN after all the atrocities that it's responsible for? And his answer was, well, the UN isn't some satellite out there. It's the member nations. So blame your country. Blame whatever country you're referring to that that's responsible, right? So it's the same sort of thing, right? It's semantics. They've got a smoke screen for everything, these people. Okay, this goes on forever. I don't want to read any more of this crap. I don't know why this chat keeps shutting down on me. Bear with me here, folks. Here we go. Okay. So, See what's going on in the chat. Follow the money. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Okay. Oh, this is another story I really wanted to get into. Where is this? Probably here. Yeah, here we go. I did it again. Okay. Here's another thing to understand, okay? Intelligence agencies have got people embedded in news organizations. This has been going on for a long time. It was admitted by the CIA back in hearings in the 1970s, I believe. Anderson Cooper, I'm sure you all know who that is, keeping him honest, right? Anderson Cooper, supposedly former CIA, used to spy on student groups when he was in college or university or whatever it is. He's now the poster boy for CNN. CIA. Anyway, so it's been admitted they have people embedded in these news organizations. They have them pitching stories to editors. I'm sure they're doing all sorts of other insidious shit. But here's an interesting story related as well. This has to do with the comment sections. Right? This is something I've been thinking about in terms of a newspaper, right? It pretty much bypasses all that. All that COINTEL, all that disinformation. There is no comment section on a newspaper. It's a beautiful thing about it. Right? But what does it say here? Headline, CIA agents to troll alternative media sites in huge propaganda program. Now, we've known about this for quite a long time now. It's just giving some background on it. Let's get into this. The CIA are expanding an existing program that influences mainstream media outlets to promote fake propaganda stories. False flags, anyone? By having agents troll internet forums, social media, and website comment sections in an effort to disrupt alternative media sites. An expansion of Operation Mockingbird, the agency are now creating fake user accounts on various internet forums and social media channels, arguing politics with real users, in an attempt to stifle and subvert genuine communications between users. I've seen a lot of this myself, and actually it's been weird lately. I've been getting a lot of fake Facebook accounts trying to add me. It'll be typical photo, half-naked woman or basically cleavage, clickbait, right? Ever since I've been really digging into this stuff and now calling into this show, I've had more than a few fake Facebook accounts trying to add me. It's interesting to see it going on. Now, who knows what that is, but I'd put money on that. This is people trying to surveil me. What does it say here? AmericanIntelligenceReport.com reports, according to RT News, agents have up to 10 fake shill accounts used to troll and create the illusion of having a genuine network of friends. They will defend current administration decisions with relentless, irrational stubbornness that one can only be paid to do. If you've ever gotten into an argument with a statist, one of these people, one of these establishment people, in the comment sections, you'll know exactly what that means, right? Relentless, irrational stubbornness. You can kind of tell when you're talking to a COINTEL person. What does it say here? Are you chatting with a CIA agent online? It's possible you may already have. And does it say here, Abby Martin, breaking the set, report on this. In the congressional hearing from 1976 below, listed how many agents are in the media to write false stories. Now, this is perfect. This is what I was talking about. According to the Congress report published in 1976, the CIA currently maintains a network of several hundred foreign individuals around the world who provide intelligence for the CIA and at times attempt to influence opinion through the use of covert propaganda. These individuals provide the CIA with direct access to a large number of newspapers and periodicals, scores of press services and news agencies, radio and television stations, commercial book publishers, and other foreign media outlets. Right? So if the corporate world coming in and buying up everything isn't enough, the CIA will just send their goons in there and make sure everyone falls in line. By the year 1953, Operation Mockingbird dictated information in over 25 newspapers and wire agencies. These organizations are run by people with well-known right-wing views, such as William Paley, Henry Luce, Time and Life magazine, Paley's from CBS, Arthur Hayes Sulzberger of the New York Times, Alfred Friendly, managing editor of the Washington Post, Jerry O'Leary of the Washington Star, and it goes on and on and on. Even Rolling Stone claimed that journalist Joseph Alsop was under the control of Operation Mockingbird in 1977. His articles appeared in over 300 different newspapers. Other journalists alleged that Rolling Stone magazine to have been willing to promote the views of the CIA. Other journalists alleged by Rolling Stone magazine to have been willing to promote the views of the CIA include Stuart Alsop, Ben Bradley, James Reston. I don't even know any of these names. Anyway, according to Nina Burley, a very private woman, in brackets, I'm not sure what that means, these journalists sometimes wrote articles that were commissioned by Frank Wisner, creator of the program. The CIA also provided them with classified information to help them with their work. Yeah, they'll provide you all the FOIs you want, all the classified information you want if it benefits them. Oh boy. Okay.
Names.
What do we got here?
I sound like I'm in a closet. I'm going to have to work on my audio next time.
I think I might be a little bit too far from the mic as well. Anyway, where am I here? Yes, there's another thing I wanted to get in. This is the last thing I'll talk about in terms of media literacy. Okay, this is a perfect example of the CIA embedding themselves in the media and as sources and as journalists. Right? Edward Snowden. Now, nobody wants to talk about this. Everyone seems to have been pacified by the whole Snowden thing. I don't get it. The whole story is preposterous. He's obviously counterintelligence. I mean, think about this, right? He basically claims that he was able to walk into the NSA, whatever, he claims he was high level, doesn't matter. He basically says that he could walk into the NSA, stick a flash drive into the computers there, and just dump everything he wanted onto it, right? Are we supposed to believe that the NSA has no internal security? Right? It's ridiculous. It's anyone that's believing that doesn't know how to analyze media, right? If he is who he says he is, he'd be dead or in jail right now. All right? Look what happened to Chelsea Manning. I'm sure you can go back through history and look at whistleblowers throughout history. You don't get away with this shit. And especially today when we have the NSA, the idea that Snowden is hooking up for live interviews on primetime talk shows in Russia, and the states have no idea where he is, and he can just go and ride the subway, and nobody bothers him in Russia, is extremely suspect, and should tell everyone what the hell's going on.
right? The whole Snowden thing is another chilling tactic, right? The real reason for him is he's announcing the NSA's program to the world, right? And people can see now, right? They've announced it. They're not stopping what they're doing. So it's to promote chill and self-censorship, right? He's telling you, well, you're being watched constantly. Every phone call you make is recorded. Every keystroke you put into a computer is recorded. And unless you rip the battery out of your cell phone, it's perpetually bugged. So, you better not say anything that might get you into trouble. You better start censoring yourself. And that's what this is, right? Because, his story's preposterous. He's never asked any difficult questions. His background has not been vetted. And people are just eating this up. It's pathetic. It's pathetic. He is placed there as counterintelligence to chill the population into self-censorship. So understand this, right? When they say expert, when they say this guy was, former CIA or whatever, I'm former NSA, you have to vet that person yourself. And if you can't do that, and you're taking it at face value, you're listening to whom the media says they are, you're opening your mind up to propaganda across the board. You have to understand who people are. You got to do your own research on them, understand who's funding them, what stakes they have in things, before you just take what they're saying at face value. Right? The whole Edward Snowden thing is just it's hilarious. It's laughable that people are still sucked into this. And really, the only person I've really heard talk about it is John Rappaport. Honestly, I don't think I've heard another person in all the podcasts and everything I listen to talk about Edward Snowden in any sort of critical fashion. It's funny to me. It's really funny to me. Anyway, I think that's quite enough on media literacy for today. I'm sure you're all sick of listening to me drone on the same topic. So let's move on. What do I have here? Okay. Fluoride. Right? Fluoride. This is something I have been digging into for a long time now. I started with, I read Christopher Bryson's book back in 2004. Actually, I'm not sure if that's when I read it. That's when it came out. The Fluoride Deception. That's there's so much research that went into that book. It's just incredible. I think they say it took 10 years to research, multiple people working on it at the same time. Just fantastic. I would recommend anyone interested in knowing more about the history of, especially the history of fluoride, to pick up Christopher Bryson's The Fluoride Deception. Very important book. Now, what he laid out in that book is his theory, based on logic and tons of research. But the history of fluoride, water fluoridation anyway, other than how it obviously benefits industry, it's basically a big PR campaign, right? So, back during the Manhattan Project, it's directed by, or I don't know if it was directed by, but Harold Hodge was one of the high-level people on the Manhattan Project. Right? The Manhattan Project, creating those bombs, created a massive amount of fluoride waste. There were also, there were smelting companies and fertilizer companies and other industries that were
basically getting a lot of bad publicity in terms of fluoride pollution. Fluoride gas would leak onto a farm adjacent factory. All the cattle would die. People would get sick and die. So these industries are scrambling around to sort of come up with a way to promote a public relations campaign and kind of convince people that it was safe. So not too long after, these lawsuits kept cropping up, and this controversy over the Manhattan Project, Harold Hodge basically became the biggest promoter of water fluoridation. And this is from a guy who was known to have forcibly injected people in the hospital without their knowledge with uranium and plutonium. So I mean, he's a very trustworthy guy. You can trust Harold Hodge. But he was one of the initial promoters of fluoridation, and it was basically to say, how can fluoride harm people if we're putting it in your water, you're putting it in your toothpaste? You're crazy. You're swallowing it every day. How can it be harming everyone, right? It was basically a defense for these industries getting sued for harming people with their fluoride waste. Something I've also found out recently, which is very interesting. Bryson didn't get into this in his book, but I'm reading another book right now. It's called The Case Against Fluoride, How Hazardous Waste Ended Up in Our Drinking Water and the Bad Science, Powerful Politics That Keep It There. Very good book as well by Paul Conant. But anyway, in that book they get into lobbying that the sugar industry did in terms of fluoride. The sugar industry supposedly was very interested in water fluoridation and fluoridated toothpaste because they felt, regardless of if it worked or not, if they could convince people that drinking this stuff, brushing their teeth with it would prevent tooth decay, then they'd eat more sugar. So you had the sugar lobby was in there as well, promoting it. There's all sorts of theories about it. Sodium fluoride used to make people docile. That it's to sterilize people. There's a number of different theories for it. But what was I going to say here? Yeah, so there's a lot that's not understood about water fluoridation. I wrote a letter to the Toronto Star. They put out an editorial. I'll read you the editorial. They put out an editorial. It was one of these nameless newsroom editorials. There's no byline. Where is that here? Yeah, here we go. And I was really pissed when I read this because I've been researching this for a long time. I didn't expect anything else from the Toronto Star, but I really sort of let them have it in an email, albeit politely. But it says, "Keep fluoridating Peel's water." Editorial. A misguided effort to stop water fluoridation in Peel region should be resisted. Children's teeth need proven protection. It's a debate that won't stop bubbling up, especially in Peel region. 5 years, I love how they always quip, they always have a little joke about it in the headline, right? Like as if it's a fucking joke. We're poisoning people. 5 years after council voted to maintain fluoridation of the region's water, there's a new effort brewing to stop municipal use of the cavity-fighting chemical. But this misguided crusade is no more justified than it was in the past, and it warrants a vigorous resistance. Well, if anything, it's more justified than it was in the past because we got more information now. Unable to refute an overwhelming body of evidence showing the health benefits of fluoridated drinking water, anti-fluoride activists now hope to end local use on jurisdictional grounds. As reported by the Star's Sang Rule, it's being argued, especially by Brampton and Peel Regional Councillor John Sprovieri, that municipal officials lack the expertise to determine the true usefulness of adding fluoride to drinking water. As a result, cities should suspend this practice until either Ottawa or Queen's Park specifically requires fluoridation. What utter nonsense, they say. Federal and provincial authorities have repeatedly, consistently, and convincingly spoken on this issue and made clear that fluoridated drinking water is a boon to public health. No sound scientific evidence has surfaced showing this poses a risk. Yeah, well, that's not true. There is scientific evidence, and whatever you're referring to that hasn't surfaced because the studies have not been done. And more time is being spent writing these goddamn editorials to discredit these people just based on endorsements and basically nothing. Rather than, trying to replicate the science themselves and disprove it themselves. No, they don't want to do that. No, because they can't. In 2012, Dr. Arlene King, then Ontario's Chief Medical Officer of Health, issued a report highlighting the benefits of fluoridation. She noted it can reduce tooth decay by up to 60% in children's primary teeth and by 35% in permanent teeth. Where the hell she's getting these stats from, I don't fucking know. But I've looked at stuff where you can line up fluoridated countries, countries that have been fluoridating or not fluoridating for a similar amount of time. You can line them up, and it's basically uniform on the graph. There's no difference. Right? If you look at Vancouver versus Toronto, I don't believe Vancouver has ever fluoridated their water. They certainly don't now. And Toronto has been fluoridating for, I believe, 40, 50 years or something. So, when you look at that, there's no difference. If anything, Vancouver's teeth are probably a little bit better. They don't have as much dental fluorosis, right? Anyway, sifting through the propaganda here, that's a significant public health benefit achieved at minimal cost, helping the very poor as well as the affluent, whether or not people have dental insurance. If municipal officials like Sprovieri feel ill-equipped to grasp the complexities of fluoridation, they should heed the more than 17 major reviews on this issue done since 1997, including an expert panel convened by Health Canada in 2007. All concluded that fluoridation reduces risk of tooth decay in a safe and cost-effective manner. Well, of course they did, because they were paid for by the same people promoting the goddamn practice. Right? People need to learn this. This is another thing. This relates back to media literacy. I won't harp on this, but when they tell you a study's been done, right, and the study says this, first thing you need to do is look at what stake does the person or group doing the study have in it? Who's funding it, or them? And what were the results? And what was the methodology, right? You can't take this shit at face value either, right? Because Health Canada did an expert panel. Well, guess what? Health Canada promotes fluoridation. Even though they've admitted they don't have any toxicological data on it. And they actually recommended that it should be done as they continue to support it. It's lunacy. It's lunacy. Oh, what does it say here? They would also do well to consider a 2003 report done on children in Peel showing that half the kids in Caledon had cavities in their teeth, while only 37% in Brampton and 38% in Mississauga did so. Why? Drinking water in Brampton, Mississauga has been fluoridated since the 1960s, while much of the water in Caledon comes from wells without any added fluoride. Well, water has natural fluoride, so I don't know why you didn't mention that. Not all of it, but water sources do have natural fluoride. And also, this is another thing. Correlation does not equal causation. Okay? Just because it's been fluoridated for 40 years and tooth decay is going down doesn't mean shit. It's not proof of causation. Right? Access to dental products and dental care has gone up. Education on taking care of your teeth and oral health has gone up. People's diets have, I guess, gotten slightly better. We're more aware of the harm of sugar now. That, I could make a whole list of other reasons why dental caries is going down. You can't just conflate. Well, we've been fluoridating for 40 years, so that must be why. It's bullshit. Not real science. What's at risk here is a fundamental public health measure. Appeal counsel must not let a bogus jurisdictional argument be used to strip kids of proven tooth protection. Well, here we go. Here's the guilt trip, right? Yeah, if you're against fluoridation, if you support the precautionary principle, you don't believe that we should wait and see risk of harm and have absolute proof that we should take precaution to prevent people's lives and their health from being ruined. If you believe in any of that, you want kids' teeth to rot out of their faces, and you don't like kids. Here's the guilt trip, right? Well, I mean, Peel spends $450,000 a year buying flowsalicic acid, which is this untested toxic waste from the phosphate fertilizer industry, and they dump that in the water. Now, what would be the difference between that and buying $450,000 worth of tubes of toothpaste and handing those out to people under a specific income level, right? The CDC, Center for Disease Control in the States, has even said, although they continue to promote water fluoridation, obviously, there's that doublespeak, but at the same time, on their website, it says benefits of fluoride to teeth are obtained primarily topically, not systemically, meaning brushing your teeth. Drinking it doesn't do shit. And there's a lot of evidence to say that brushing your teeth with it doesn't do shit either. And it's all dangerous. It's all dangerous. Sodium fluoride, hydrofluosilicic acid, natural fluoride, it's all dangerous. It's all poison to the human body. What did I have here? Yeah, so here's the letter I wrote from Toronto Star. After reading your editorial on water fluoridation, I am thoroughly disgusted. Judging by the drivel spouted in your editorial, you've either done no more than 20 minutes of research, or you've chosen to, or have been instructed to remain willfully ignorant. First of all, the way in which the word fluoride is used is misleading. Fluoride simply means a compound of fluorine combined with another element or group. It can refer to naturally occurring fluoride, medical-grade fluoride, industrial-grade fluoride, anything in between. The studies being referenced to back up the safety and efficacy of fluoride all deal with sodium fluoride or naturally occurring fluoride, neither of which is what is actually used to fluoridate Peel Region's water. So they're saying fluoride's safe and effective. They're not indicating what form of fluoride they're using, right? I guess they think fluoride's fluoride. Maybe they're that retarded. I don't know. The substance used to fluoridate water in Peel is called hydrofluosilicic acid, a chemical byproduct of the phosphate fertilizer industry. In other words, toxic waste for which there is no known toxicological data, which was confirmed by a 2014 FOIA request. To make this claim that studies on sodium fluoride and naturally occurring fluoride vouch for the safety and effectiveness of junk scraped off the inside of smokestacks is ludicrous and deeply unethical. Studies on other forms of fluoride and endorsements from associations, politicians, and bureaucrats are not proof of the safety of hydrofluosilicic acid.
when it comes to the studies that have been done, they are all coming from groups, governments, and bureaucracies that actively promote fluoridation, an obvious conflict of interest. I don't understand why nobody can get this, right? That's conflict of interest, people. Look it up. No independent studies are ever cited, only those from parties whose credibility depends on continuing to support this position, not to mention their ability to dodge liability. And this is another thing. These public health agencies that have been doing this for 60 years now, whatever they know, whether they know what they're doing or not, they cannot reverse their position now. They can't just say, well, oops, we might be poisoning you. We might have been poisoning you for the last 50, 60 years, but sorry. No, that is going to open up a can of worms for lawsuits. So they're not going to do that. This is why they're vehemently supporting this position. Well, at the same time, in a lot of places, they're trying to just quietly get it out of the water as well, because they're terrified of liability now. Right? The other thing is, they have to retain credibility, right? Public confidence, right? If an agency makes such a heinous mistake, if you want to call it a mistake, as potentially poisoning the population for 5 decades, they're going to lose all credibility. No one's ever going to believe what they have to say again. And so for that reason, they can't go against fluoridation for both of those reasons. Forget everything else, right? Credibility and liability is enough to explain, no matter what your opinion on it, why they're promoting it. Even the assertions made in these studies, right? The studies on sodium fluoride and natural fluoride, namely that fluoridation drastically reduces the incidence of dental decay, as Arlene King said in that fucking article I just read, have now been put into question, as there is data showing that there doesn't seem to be any significant difference in oral health between fluoridated and non-fluoridated communities. I am saddened and disappointed with the Star's complete lack of insight into this issue. However, as someone who spent 4 years studying media and journalism, I am not at all surprised. It's negligence and lack of ethics like this that prevent me from ever allowing myself to be employed in your industry. Now, obviously, I never heard back from that, never got a response. That probably got thrown in the trash the second they saw fluoride in the subject line. But yeah, so, you know, they're mainly, these news organizations, the mainstream media, they're mainly public relations firms. They're government mouthpieces, right? This is why an individual like myself has to spend my free time researching fluoridation because these people who supposedly represent us aren't doing any of that. They're not looking into it. They're not researching it. And the press, which is supposed to be, holding their feet to the fire, they're not doing any of it either. They're just acting as their public relations. So I thought I should point that out. What do I have here? Oh, here's the FOIA. Oh, wow. Did they remove this? Yeah, maybe they did. Anyway. Okay. Here's something I wanted to look at. This is very interesting. I got the material safety data sheets for different forms of chemicals they use for water fluoridation and other things. Okay, so let's start with this, right? Here we got sodium fluoride. Oh, damn chat. Keeps going down. Okay. Here we go. Sodium fluoride. Potential acute health effects. Hazardous in case of skin contact, irritant,
of eye contact, irritant, corrosive, of ingestion or inhalation, slightly hazardous in case of skin contact, corrosive. Severe overexposure can result in death. Potential chronic health effects, carcinogenic effects. A4, not classifiable for human or animal. Not classifiable for human. Mutagenic effects, mutagenic for mammalian somatic cells. Mutagenic for bacteria and or yeast. Teratogenic effects, not available. Developmental toxicity, not available. As you're seeing how little they know about it still to this day because they don't want to test it. Not in public anyway. The substance may be toxic to kidneys, lungs, the nervous system, heart, gastrointestinal tract, cardiovascular system, bones, and teeth. It might be toxic to teeth. And yet they're putting it in your toothpaste. Oh boy, that's funny. Repeated or prolonged exposure to the substance can produce target organs damage. Repeat exposure to a highly toxic material may produce general deterioration of health by an accumulation in one or many human organs. Eye contact. Check for and remove any contact lenses. In case of contact, immediately flush eyes with plenty of water for 15 minutes. Yada, yada, yada. So, yeah, right? Serious inhalation. Evacuate the victim to a safe area as soon as possible. Loosen tight clothing such as a collar, tie, belt, or waistband. If breathing is difficult, administer oxygen. If the victim is not breathing, perform mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. If swallowed, do not induce vomiting unless directed to do so by medical personnel. Yeah, so this is what they're putting in your toothpaste, folks. Risks of explosion of the product in presence of static discharge. Not available. Slightly explosive in presence of heat. Containers may explode when heated. Large spill. Poisonous solid. Stop leakage without risk. Do not get water inside container. Do not touch spilled material. So yeah, wonderful stuff they're putting in your toothpaste there. Okay, now here we go. This is what they're putting in your water. Now there's a bunch of different names for this stuff, but it's pretty much the same thing. It is a chemical byproduct, mainly I believe the phosphate fertilizer industry. It may be from other industries as well. There you go. It's known as all sorts of different things: flowsalicic acid, hexaflowsalicic acid, hydroflowsalicic acid, fluorosilicic acid. There's all sorts of different names for it. But anyway, product use: fluorosilicic acid. It's got two uses. Okay, 1. Water fluoridation. 2. Wood preservation. Yummy. Oh my god. Okay. Synonyms: fluorosilicic acid, hydrofluorosilicic acid, hydrofluorosilicic acid, hexafluorosilicic acid. Inhalation: irritating to nose, throat, and respiratory system. May be corrosive to respiratory system with prolonged contact. Symptoms of exposure may include burning sensation, coughing, wheezing, laryngitis, shortness of breath, headache, nausea, and vomiting. Skin contact absorption may cause irritation, redness, or swelling with contact. Eye contact. Contact may cause severe irritation, watering, redness, and swelling. Ingestion may cause nausea, vomiting, abdominal pains, and burns if ingested. Right? So, this is what they're putting in your fucking water. It's non-flammable. That's interesting. Product does not burn. When fire is involved, use any firefighting agent appropriate for surrounding material. Use water spray to cool fire-exposed surfaces. Where's the composition of this stuff? See if that's here. Toxicological information. Product is corrosive. Sensitization, not available. So there's been guinea pig tests done on it. That is it. They have no human toxicological data on it. They have no idea what it's going to do to you. And yet they're talking about how great and safe and effective it is. Interesting. Interesting. Yeah, same thing. Flow-silicic acid. I believe this is the American MSDS. Toxicological data on ingredients. Flow-silicic acid LD50, not available. LC50, not available. It's just the same stuff. The same stuff. This stuff is just disgusting. Disgusting poison. Anyway, moving on here. Here's something I want to read, actually. This is someone I've been meaning to interview this man on what I'm writing here. His name's Dr. Hardy Lambert. He's one of the few people in the industry with any moral fiber. He understands what's going on. Lost his job as president of the Canadian Association for Dental Research, or Canadian Dental Association, whatever it is. I don't know. This was written in 1999, so I don't know what it's called now or if it's the same, but I want to read some of this because this is coming from a guy who is still, to this day, Hardy Lambert is the head of preventive dentistry at University of Toronto, right? So they're prestigious universities with all their supposed experts, and the politicians are still saying that anti-fluoride people are spouting junk science. Meanwhile, Lambert is the head of preventive dentistry at U of T. Interesting. Doesn't really line up with their narrative. But anyway, Dr. Lambert is Canada's, and now remember, this was written in 1999. Dr. Lambert is Canada's leading fluoride authority, and until recently, the country's primary promoter of the controversial additive. In a surprising newsmaker interview this past April, Dr. Lambert announced a dramatic change of heart. Children under 3 should never use fluoridated toothpaste, he counseled, or drink fluoridated water. And baby formula must never be made up using Toronto tap water. Never. I love how he specifically says Toronto tap water. And here's another thing a lot of people don't know about what they're putting in the water. Flow-silicic acid, right, is extremely, as I said, is extremely corrosive. So what happens is it leaches more of the heavy metals off of the pipes. And you end up ingesting more of that stuff too. Not to mention the fact that flow-silicic acid is filled with arsenic and lead and other stuff that's not supposed to be in our water. But moving on, why I wondered, what could have caused such a powerful paradigm shift? It's been building up for a couple years, Lambert told me during a recent telephone interview. But certainly the crowning blow was the realization that we have been dumping contaminated fluoride into water reservoirs for half a century. The vast majority of all fluoride additives come from Tampa Bay, Florida, smokestack scrubbers. The additives are a toxic byproduct of the superphosphate fertilizer industry. Tragically, he continued, that means we're not just dumping toxic fluoride into our drinking water. We're also exposing innocent, unsuspecting people to deadly elements of lead, arsenic, and radium. Yummy, yummy, yummy radium. All of them carcinogenic. Because of the cumulative properties of toxins, the detrimental effects on human health are catastrophic. A recent study at the University of Toronto confirmed Dr. Lambert's worst fears. Residents of cities that fluoridate have double the fluoride in their hip bones vis-a-vis the balance of the population. Worse, we discovered the fluoride is actually altering the basic architecture of human bones. Skeletal fluorosis is a debilitating condition that occurs when fluoride accumulates in bones, making them extremely weak and brittle. The earliest symptoms, mottled and brittle teeth, Dr. Lambert told me. In Canada, we are now spending more money treating dental fluorosis than we do treating cavities. That includes my own practice. So this stuff that they're saying strengthens your teeth, there's a lot of evidence to show it actually ruins your teeth. How interesting. One of the most obvious living experiments today, Dr. Lambert believes, is a proof positive comparison between any 2 Canadian cities. Here in Toronto, we've been fluoridating for 36 years. Yet Vancouver, which is never fluoridated, has a cavity rate lower than Toronto's. This is a 99. And he pointed out cavity rates are low all across the industrialized world, including Europe, which is 98% fluoride free. Low because of improved standards of living, less refined sugar, regular dental checkups, flossing, and frequent brushing. Now less than 2 cavities per child Canada-wide, he said. I don't get it, Doc. This is coming from the interviewer. Last month, the Center for Disease Control ran a puff piece all across America saying this stuff was better than sliced bread. What's the story? Unfortunately, he replied, the CDC is basing its position on data that is 50 years old and questionable at best. Absolutely no one has done research on fluorosilicates, which is the junk they're dumping into the drinking water. And to this day, I found out no one's done anything on it. There's still no data on it more than 15 years later. And they don't intend to give you any data on it. On the other hand, he added, the evidence against systemic fluoride intake continues to pour in. But Doc, the dentists, I have absolutely no training in toxicity, he stated firmly. Your well-intentioned dentist is simply following 50 years of misinformation from public health and the Dental Association. Me too. Unfortunately, we were wrong. Last week, Dr. Hardy Lambert addressed his faculty and students at the University of Toronto Department of Dentistry. In a poignant, memorable meeting, he apologized to those gathered before him. Speaking as the head of preventive dentistry, I told them I had unintentionally misled my colleagues and my students. For the past 15 years, I had refused to study the toxicology information that is readily available to anyone. Poisoning our children, he's talking about sodium fluoride, not hydrofluorosilicic acid. But poisoning our children was the furthest thing from my mind. The truth, he confessed to me, was a bitter pill to swallow, but swallow it I did. Now there's a man with integrity. I got to get this guy on the phone. I'd love to get Hardy Lambert on the show. That would be amazing. But anyway, south of the border, the paradigm shift has yet to dawn. After half a century of delusion, the CDC, American Dental Association, Public Health, stubbornly and skillfully continue to manipulate public opinion in favor of fluoridation. Meantime, study after study is delivering the death knell of the deadly toxin. Sure, fluoridation will be around for a long time yet, but ultimately its supporters need to ready the life rafts. The poisonous waters of doubt and confusion are bound to get choppier. Are lawsuits inevitable? I asked the good doctor. Remember tobacco? Was his short, succinct reply. Welcome, Dr. Hardy Lambert, to the far side of the fluoride equation. It's lonely over here, but in our society, loneliness and truth frequently travel hand in hand. Thank you for the undeniable courage of your convictions. Great interview. Okay, so, I'm kind of disappointed that nobody called in today. I was wondering if I'd even be able to drone on for 2 hours, but we're almost there. So anyone wants to call in the last 10 minutes right now, go ahead, feel free. Anything you want to talk about? For now, I'll move on. Okay. Okay, yeah, here we go. Let me get into some of this stuff. I heard about this the other day, and I just cringed. This is just disgusting. What's going on here? There we go, right? Celine Dion, her husband died. I'm not sure when, not too long ago. Her husband and manager, right? The two, they are filthy fucking rich, these people. Okay, they're worth like $1 billion between the two of them, right? What does it say here? As manager's one of the biggest stars in the world. Oh, we got a call. Hello. I'm not hearing anything. Oh, okay. It says the person was unable to join this call because. Oh, oh, okay. Here we go. Hello.
Hello, Alex.
Hey, who am I speaking to?
This is Mark calling from Sudbury.
Oh, Mark.
Hi, how are you?
How's it going, brother?
It's going all right, man. I was listening to the show. I was thinking of calling in earlier, but you're doing such a great job there, and I was very interested in what you were saying. I didn't want to interrupt your flow.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you very much, Mark.
Yeah, it's some very good information there. I especially like the stuff on the media and stuff. You did a nice compact job of explaining that, all the important areas. Of course, you can talk about that for hours and hours and hours, get into it in a lot more detail, but I thought you made a good synopsis on that.
That's what I was
volume,
yeah.
As far as your volume goes on your voice, it sounds really good right now. You don't sound quite as echoey as you were at first, so you sound like very good right now, whatever you're doing. I just wanted to tell you that.
Thank you, thank you. You know what? I think I'm going to need to buy some sort of a wired mic. I'm using an internal mic right now on my MacBook, so it's less than ideal, and I'm sitting about 2.5, 3 feet away from it. So I've just been really raising my voice, and I guess it's working.
It sounds fine.
Thank you, thank you.
It's very good, yeah. You're mentioning about the fluoride thing, and
Yeah.
you call that fluorosalicylic acid?
Well, there's about 4 or 5 different synonyms for it.
Yeah, but one of them was fluorosalicylic, right?
The main was flow-silicic acid. So FLUOSILICIC acid. Flow-silicic acid. It's also known as hydroflow-silicic acid, hexaflow-silicic acid, fluorosilicic acid. There's all sorts of fucking names for it. But what it is, silicic waste.
Uh-huh. And I have a friend who was talking to someone who works at the plant where they put that in, and they have to handle that like a hazardous waste as well. They got suits on and gloves on and stuff, and that's
the water treatment plant, eh?
Yeah.
Oh, hey, I'd love to speak with that guy.
Well, it's a friend of a friend, and I can't even remember exactly the friend that told me that, but it was someone very reliable that told me that at the time.
I'll have to bug you about that in the future.
Yeah. Well, I can check into that. But most of them don't want to speak out because I'm just doing my job.
Yeah, well, he can do it. He can do it anonymously, or she, whoever it is.
Yeah. Well, that's the best way anyways. Like you're saying, if you go there with any kind of intention of being a reporter and that person knows it, that's going to bias their behavior.
Yeah, exactly right. This objectivity shit is, first of all, there is no objectivity in general. They're not objective, even if there could be. And all it is it's a way to keep journalists leashed.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Now there are times where it's
obedient.
There are times where it's important to identify yourself as a journalist and yada yada yada. But a lot of the time you're not going to get a story if you identify yourself. You just won't.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody will talk to you, right?
Yeah, it could stop there, and if they do agree to do it, it still influences what they say because it's always in the back of their mind too, right? They're trying to say the right thing too.
Exactly.
Or not say the wrong thing.
I used to have a professor who, one of my better professors, and he would say, he's like, I'm not condoning it, I'm not telling you to do this or anything, but, sometimes it helps if you smoke. Right? Because he'd say, well, you can approach someone, right? Let's say, you're at an event or something, they're outside having a smoke, or you could approach them, say, hey, you want to go have a smoke, right? Let's talk about this. And you don't have to, and then if they, if you don't identify yourself there and you're just having a smoke, shooting the shit with that person, they potentially really open up to you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, you do it sort of covertly in a way, yeah.
Well, you have to in a lot of this stuff, right? This garbage from the Canadian press about, we have to identify ourselves as journalists, that's just because they don't want anything of substance in there.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Yeah, that's all that is.
Yeah. You're talking about the editors being the gatekeepers. There's a lot of other gatekeepers, of course, in different areas of this control grid. One of the main ones that I was thinking that would be kind of comparable to editors are the CAOs of the cities.
Yes.
They're trained by the United Nations, of course, to implement Agenda 21, sustainability, whatever you want to call it. ICLEI, I-C-L-E-I, is a acronym, International Council for Local Environmental Initiatives. That's the main program that would be in most people's cities. So these city CAOs are the gatekeepers, and they actually set the agendas for council and everything. So they're they're the last. And the city CAO in Sudbury last year made $380,000. Isn't that great?
Yeah. Well, they keep their mouths shut, right?
Yeah, keep their mouth shut about certain things, but open their mouth wide about other things.
Try to get one of those people on the phone, eh? Good luck with that.
It wouldn't happen.
Nope.
It wouldn't happen. You barely get in to see him to speak with him in person. So you want to know what you're going to talk about before you see him.
Yeah. You gotta be vetted by their PR person first.
Yeah.
Oh, I've had it done so many times.
I'm sure you have.
Oh man.
So just about at the end of the show, anyways. I'll let you go here, finish off the last minutes yourself. I just wanted to make sure you take a call and stuff. You get that experience in there. Let you know you're doing great, and we'll talk again another time.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mark. I appreciate it.
Okay, you're welcome. Take care.
You too. What's going on here? Hello? Hello? I'm not sure what happened there. Anyway, I'm still in the air. Okay. I wanted to get into this really quickly. Celine Dion and her manager, her husband. Right? Dion is worth $630 million. Her husband, $400 million. So these people are worth $1 billion between the two of them. And Quebec gives them a state funeral. They're not. Thank God they're not paying for the whole thing. But the friggin' funeral cost $700,000, right? And the government said that we're not spending a penny more than $49,770. So this is what your representatives do with your money. They chip in for the obscenely priced funerals of their elitist buddies. It's just sickening. I can't read any more of this. I'm going to do an outro now. Okay. Thank you, Mama Delight. I'm going to get back to you about that. Okay. What I want to say here. Once again, I'm very honored that Ronson trusted me to do a show today. I had a lot of fun. I didn't get too much sleep last night. I was pretty nervous about it, but woke up this morning really just like excited, raring to go. So yeah, thank you everyone for putting up with me today. Thank you, Marco. I really appreciate the call. I wish more people had called in. Gave me some time to drone on. So thank you, Jules. It's on.
Selling lies and buying time, killing people next in line. Lower classes, social slime, they don't matter. Genocide, sick from water, sick from air. Making money, they don't care. Caesar shit, force of air. Fuck them back, it's only for they bomb. They shoot, they kill, they massacre, rape, they burn the kids. No one makes gun. Trees lie to your face.